hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Spooktober episode of We Watch Shudder. Today should be October 14th. Maybe it's the 13th. It all depends. Why do I keep doing this every time? I
don't know. We wrote them out. It is
Right.
October 14th.
Right.
By the way, we're filming this in June. We need to make sure the audience knows.
We're not filming this at all, Michelle.
We're on video right now. They don't.
My point is, like, sometimes though, Michelle, the movie comes out on Friday. The new movie comes out on a Friday, so maybe the movie that it's either the 13th or the 14th. That much I know.
I have a really spooky idea for Spooktober. What if they release a new movie every day of October that we then have to review despite setting all of this up?
Oh, well, are they all going to be originals and exclusives?
Yep. Yes,
I don't think they're going to release 30. Anyway, guys.
You never know.
We are back to talk about another archive title from Shudder. That's what we're doing here this month is we're going back and picking up older original and exclusives that were released before we started the podcast and talking about them. Michelle, what are we talking about this day?
We're talking about a horror movie. It's called The Cleansing Hour.
Okay, thank you for completing the thought. That almost got nasty. Yep. Yes, The Cleansing Hour is the name of the film, and as we do on all of our episodes, except at the very least that one way back in June, which we just recorded 10 minutes ago, where I completely forgot to do it, the Eloy de la Iglesia Spanish Giallo classic, The Cannibal Man. Anyway, guys, The Cleansing Hour. Max and Drew are millennial entrepreneurs who've made themselves famous with a webcast they created called The Cleansing Hour, which streams live exorcisms. That's in capital letters in the descriptions. The catch, each exorcism, is elaborately staged until today, when Drew's fiancée, today's actress in the chair, turns out to actually be possessed. Will Max and Drew be forced to tell their 20 million viewers, or are they the pawns in a greater demonic conspiracy? A Shudder original. Michelle! Give us them spoiler-free thoughts on The Cleansing Hour.
All right. So the description does not do this movie justice because it is the Chris Angel of exorcists, and that's really cool. And like,
that's perfect. I did. Oh my God, that is amazing.
He absolutely Chris Angel of Exorcist. And it's just so good because he's such like a douche and you just don't like him right away, but then you really like him. And I feel like if this movie could have easily been awful by taking itself way too seriously. But it allows you these breaks of laughter with the audience as they're watching this live show go down. While things on the set, I realized the second time around seeing it, things on the set are never funny. So it gives you those breaks through the audience, but yet still keeps things very serious on the set. And I feel like that was brilliant. It gave us the opportunity to laugh and like enjoy some of the ridiculous things happening. But over time, it becomes more intense and it stops being as funny as it was. And it does become like, oh no, this is not a good situation for Chris Angel to be in, especially because we know he can't actually levitate and disappear. Those are camera tricks and he doesn't have his camera tricks today. So yeah, I love this movie. This is my second time seeing it. I hope that there will be another time that I will see it. I will give it a 4.25.
All right, Michelle with a 4.25 skulls on The Cleansing Hour. I can't go quite as overboard about it as you do, but yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. There are parts of it, and we've talked about this before, when it comes to spirituality and religious themes in horror movies. I'm very particular about how I do and don't like those to be incorporated. And this, especially in the third act, started to lose me a little bit by dropping into some of that territory that doesn't really always work for me. But first of all, the horror show here is intense. There are one moment in particular, which we'll talk about in detail in the spoiler section coming up here, that is one of the most intense death scenes I've ever seen in any horror film ever. That I will keep with me for a long time. I thought the horror effects and those moments were really well done. I agree with you. It had some really good comedy moments involved there. Very, very enjoyable. Just had a little bit of a few things that towards the end that didn't entirely work for me. But I'm gonna give this one 3.25 skulls.
Ooh, that brings us to an average of 3.75
skulls. Yeah.
out of 5. We had 4 skulls and we lost a quarter of one. We don't know where it is. We will find it eventually.
It's like just the mandible, the lower jaw is missing.
Yeah,
That's,
exactly.
We lost it.
This skull can no longer speak. I don't know what's going on.
So those are our spoiler-free thoughts on the Cleansing Hour. If you want to go check out the movie before we tear it all apart and talk about it in depth, now is when you're going to want to do that. Hit that pause button right now. There you go. All right. So, Michelle.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I just jump right away to that kill scene that I was talking about? Let me ask you this.
Go for it.
Can you guess which death scene it was?
Oh, was it the guy stabbing himself to death because he thought he was being attacked by a demon and no one else could see it? Because yes, I can.
That is one of I remember that so very vividly from the first time I saw this movie. It was intense as fuck. The second time I saw it, that dude, he's like, "Oh, there's a demon on me. There's a demon trying to kill me. It's invisible to everybody else. Maybe he's seeing it for real. Maybe he's not. Maybe it's all in his head. Doesn't matter.
Maybe it is the drugs. Like,
right?
You don't know if that's a drug thing because you never know.
Here's what I do know is dude's got a utility knife and he is just slashing the fuck out of himself for several moments in that. God damn it. Cool. I love that scene. That sequence on its own is one of the most horrifying things I have ever seen in my life. That was really great. I thought the dude getting lit on fire, which was the first real big crazy bit, that was fucking nuts. Really, really good horror show here. The effects were good. It was intense. It was rough. As we get toward, as we get towards the end of the film, like I say, it gets into the bits where, when they're talking about the actual, real demons, and he's trying to possess the whole world by getting them all drawn into this podcast or this live stream thing or whatever, and using the internet to possess everybody. It kind of lost me a little bit there. But it had already done so much good stuff up until that point that I have to call it a win overall.
It did have the potential to lose me, but what made sure that I didn't was how much pride he still took in getting his verified status, despite knowing that he just fucked the world.
Right?
He didn't care.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh man, I'm E-famous. Who even cares?" And
right.
That was where I was like, "Okay, this guy is such a douche," and I love him. He's just so great. And that final message was why I was like, okay, it didn't go overboard. It was like he's still happy about the fact that he's verified now in the apocalypse, and I get that.
Right.
If I was Twitter famous,
in
the apocalypse, I'd be fine with whatever happened. The live tweeting as people's heads are spinning around, I could do that. That would be my job.
So the whole thing with the I did think it was a little much when it was he's got that book with the rituals or whatnot. That stuff is where it sort of lost me. It's now we gotta I've always found the idea, first of all, that the way you banish a demon is you recite a poem at it from a book. I've always found that a really, like, literally as long as you just say these words in this order, then, like, or they do the whole thing where it doesn't even have to be the same person, it doesn't have to be in any particular period of time or rhythm, as long as you're like, oh, we got interrupted, we can just pick up where we left. Like, that whole device has been done in a lot of different movies, and it has always been one of the dumbest things. And then it's like, oh, whose book do you think it is? And it's like, oh, he's not a demon, you guys. He's the devil himself. Yeah, that part of the movie was a little much for me.
But I think the fact that they set it up as like this is not a serious movie 100%.
Oh, sure.
I think that's why they got away with it, with that ridiculous stuff. Because this movie could have just been like 100% serious, no jokes, and if they had done the exact same thing, because really it was just, I was paying attention, it was just the audience giving us the like joke moments. Aside from like the demon itself was a little bit like bantery, but demons do that in these movies. It could have been 100% serious and done the exact same story, and it would have sucked. They had to set it up as like,
oh, sure,
this is kind of silly and ridiculous.
Well,
and that's why I think okay with it.
I think that rings true too. Also, like, think about it. You're sitting there watching a live stream exorcism on the internet. Are you gonna believe any of that is actually happening, no matter how good it looks?
100%. Yeah, everything on the internet is true, right?
Yeah, of course, exactly. But no, I think they did do that. They did do that really, really well. And like I said, I agree with you that the quality of the horror show moments and the comedy bits, the power of those combined were enough that. Even though the ultimate finish of the movie and where the story ended up was not exactly one that was up to me, I got a lot out of this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's worth seeing. When I sit down with friends and we decide to talk about our favorite kills from horror movies, like, that one is going to be in there forever and right up near the God. Just thinking about it now, my skin. I have a thing about cuts, Michelle. Okay, so now we know I have a thing about hands and fingers, and I specifically have a thing about like slashing cuts
and babies.
Yeah, and well, I have a moral problem with babies. I have a cringe
with fingers and slashing.
Fingers and eyes. That's a thing that really, like, especially sharp things in the eyes.
Cuts between the fingers is like,
no. Michelle, okay. There's a movie called Cast a Deadly Spell, right? It was produced by HBO in the very early 90s. Loosely, it's not adapted from any particular story, but it's kind of loosely inspired by and based on the works of H.P. Lovecraft. Long story short, there is a sequence in that movie that is referred to as death by a million paper cuts. And that also is one of the most intense fucking, because the thought of that fucked me up so bad. Like, the idea of just being lacerated to death by paper cuts is, oh, yeah. Yeah, so, like, that slashing your skin and eyeballs and hands and fingers. Yeah, that's why, that scene alone probably would have earned this movie at least 2 skulls all on its own.
Wow. So the rest of the movie only got like a, what was it, 1.25?
Shut up.
How math works?
Look, we've discussed in the past how these numbers don't really mean anything except what I'm thinking at the moment.
Yeah,
so
I was gonna say they don't mean anything to you. I'm meticulously
cut me some slack.
Cut you some slack with some paper cuts.
No, with the utility knife. Oh God.
Yeah, I don't have like a lot to say about this one because I think it's one that like people should just experience. It's really fun, and it's just like I like horror that is just fun, you know.
This is not. It's not too heavy in any way. It's certainly better than what was that awful exorcism internet movie we saw earlier this year? Knight's End.
Oh. We're
Oh
just
my
gonna
god.
keep talking about that one because it was
Yeah,
not
like,
good.
if you have seen Knight's End and would like to know how an idea similar to that could be done much better, see The Cleansing Hour. Not identical films, but similar in a lot of ways. And The Cleansing Hour was much better.
You have a fear of being killed by paper cuts, and I have a fear that the people who made Night's End befriend us by the time that this episode comes out, and they're just tired of us talking about how much we dislike their movie. And they're like, come on, guys, we're just like small independent people. And we're like, we're sorry, but there's more episodes coming out in October. And I'm sorry.
We
didn't know you yet.
we spent literally weeks shit talking your film, and then we met you. It's not our fault.
Exactly. You shouldn't have made Night's End if you
Right.
didn't want this to happen.
If you didn't want people to dislike your movie, you should have made a better movie.
Hopefully,
wow,
by being friends with them, we are now helping them make the sequel, and it's
also
way better though.
Also, maybe the most pretentious, ridiculous dork thing I've said in this podcast so far. If you didn't want people to hate your movie, you should have made a better movie, dude. I hope people understand I don't really mean it.
I hope they know that you are completely 110% serious.
Well, I mean, the movie, I'm
say
absolutely serious that I did not like that movie. And guys, we got distracted by Night's End. It happens from time to time.
I just wake up yelling in the middle of the night, Night's End.
Check out The Cleansing Hour. Michelle, we're coming back with another one for Spooktober tomorrow.
We are.
Or maybe the day after if it's Thursday and the new release is on Friday. But it'll be on the 15th, that's for sure. What are we talking about on October 15th, Michelle?
We're going to take a leap of faith. And
that's right.
A leap of faith.
Yes, Leap of Faith, documentary, sort of an oral history of the making of The Exorcist. Came out a couple of years ago on Shudder. I have seen this one once before. I'm very much looking forward to seeing it again. We're going to talk about that one tomorrow or the 15th, whenever that is. We may even just add in and talk about The Exorcist a little bit, as long as we're talking about that documentary. And then, of course,
I get to rewatch The Exorcist? Hell yeah. I'm making a note.
The movie is, well, I mean, it's The Exorcist. Everybody knows. So keep your ears peeled for that. We got new eps coming every single day this month. And, of course, still hitting the new original and exclusives as those come out. Short and sweet for The Cleansing Hour. Oh, also, The Cleansing Hour, 94 minutes. Perfectly acceptable running time. Well done. The Cleansing
More movies
Hour.
around an hour and a half, please. No more 3-hour movies.
Yeah.
I don't care how good they are. Just stop.
Just stop.
Make a
please.
sequel. Like,
exactly.
we're getting too old for this shit. Give me an hour and a half, 2 hours maximum.
I gotta pee, guys. Come on.
I'm looking at you, the Batman. You should have ended half hour earlier. Got it. I know. I loved it. It was too long.
Anyway, these people don't want to listen to us gripe about Robert Pattinson's stupid Batman movie. Say goodnight, Michelle.
I fucking love that movie. Good night, Michelle.